Time for another Kinstretch class with the Fitness Alchemists. Today I am joined by the one and only Debbie Gold. She is many things, including a rock climber. And so who better for our first climbing class than Debbie to be our model. So for today, we're going to be kind of jumping around the body a bit, but all of these are selected because of how they have the chance to really upgrade the tissues you need for climbing effectively, from hips to shoulders to wrists and all that stuff. In terms of props, you're going to want a tall dowel, like a broom handle works well, or an actual dowel if you have it, as well as a shorter dowel. You probably won't have that, but you will have like a wooden spoon, and that will work great for when we get to that work for your elbows. So a wooden spoon and a tall dowel. Always smart to have a block on hand as well, just in case you find that you need a little adjustment as we go. All right. So we're going to get right to it with some warm-up for your spine. So come into a hands and knees position. It's a little chilly in here, so Debbie's going to start with the jacket on, and we'll see if we can get warmed up. And create some pressure through your feet and through your hands. And then begin that spinal wave, but start from the top of your spine. So begin pulling your chin into your neck, looking for a stretch on the back of your neck. And then let that transition into stretches for your upper back segments, rounding your way down your spine until you're aware of fully curling your tailbone under and maxing out that stretch through your lower back. Okay? And then brace. Keep that tailbone curled under and start reaching your chin away from your neck. And feel the back of your neck shorten before you start sending your collarbones forward and up. And then your sternum forward. And then moving through those lower segments until your tailbone is the last to move. Great. Okay, take a little breath. Walk your hands wider apart for this next one. Just walk them out wide. Try to check in that same extension shape that you were just in. And then with this wider hand position, let's do another rep, pulling your chin into your neck, stretching the segments of your spine right on the back of your neck, and then transitioning that to your upper back, and then to your mid back, and finally through your lower back. Good. And then keep that tailbone curled and start reaching your chin away. Trying to feel the back of your neck shorten and contract. Feeling your upper back start to contract. And finally, your lower back muscles contracting. Very nice. Okay. Shake it out. We're going to do one more hand position switch. So walk your hands even wider apart. All right. And this is really to start getting at how variable you need your strength to be when you go rock climbing. So from here, make those hands really heavy and almost feel like you're going to pull the floor together with your hands. Feel how that changes the contraction in your upper chest and in your shoulders. And then one final rep, chin into neck. Rounding your upper back. And feel that this final rep is a little bit more effort, a little bit more intensity that you're maintaining through the movement. Working really to feel that tailbone curl and keep it, and then start the chin moving away from your neck. Nice. Good. Really finding that contraction in your upper back. Trying to make that spinal shape as exaggerated as possible. Good. There we go, got a bendy spine. Okay, shake those wrists out, and now you're gonna come up to standing. Grab a little dowel for Debs. Okay, so with that dowel, you wanna use that to encourage some contraction on that side of your body. So if you're holding the dowel in your left hand, you're gonna focus on pushing the dowel down enough to feel the left side of your torso really light up. And then you can hold onto the wall for balance as well, so that you're not worried about losing your balance here. And then bring that working leg, your left leg, out in front of you, knee bent, and bring it into as much hip flexion as you can. And then keep that flexion and just rotate your thigh to find end range hip external rotation. Every time we get back here, I want you to make sure you're externally rotated. Now we start the CAR, reaching that shin out to the side, keeping the dowel heavy as you start to reach your heel behind you. staying tall on your standing leg as you reach that knee all the way back, and then touch your knees together. Okay, very nice. And let's go in reverse. So drive that heel back, lift your shin up, keep that dowel pressure solid as you bring that thigh high in front of you, and find that rotation of your hip as that leg comes all the way in front of you. Good. Try to bring the thigh even closer to your belly. Brace hard. One more rep. You got this. Pushing your shin out, keeping the dowel heavy. Good. Keeping your pelvis square ahead, and finding all of those contractions that you can around the hip socket. Touch your knees together, and then we go right in reverse. Good stuff. All the way around, finding the pace that allows you to make sure you're at end range at each position, finishing up with that rotation on the hip. Woo, and relax. Nice. That's some real effort. Go ahead, switch to the other side. All right, now working on the other side. Feel free to place this dowel kind of anywhere that will make you feel strong when you push it into the floor. Doesn't have to be right out to the side. Just make sure you have room to move your leg, okay? So maybe step a little from the wall so you have room for that leg. All right, here we go. Bring that leg into flexion. Find that external rotation. And then whatever shape you have in your spine, doesn't have to be perfect, just keep it as you start this hip CAR. Bringing that knee out to the side. Really feeling how that dowel arm is working and inspiring contraction for that whole side of your torso as you bring the knee around and touch the knee to the standing leg. And then reverse course. Lift the shin up towards that dowel. Good. Going slow enough that you can really feel, is your pelvis moving? We don't want that. We want to maximize the motion at your hip. Second rep, try to bring that thigh even closer to your stomach, and then send the shin out to the side. Rotate your thigh. Reach that heel back, trying to maybe find a stretch on the front of your hip as you feel the back of your hip contract, and then reverse course. Bracing all the time, knowing that rest will come at the end of the rep, but you're not going to give up your brace until then. And relax. Good. Okay, and shake it out. And then come down to a seated position or kneeling position, whatever allows you to feel comfortable in an upright position. All right, now I'm going to have Debbie come up to tall kneeling actually, just so that you can see a little upgrade, and if it works for you, go for it. If you're seated and it doesn't, don't worry about it. But basically, we're going to move the scapula, and I want you to imagine you're holding onto a softball or a grapefruit, and you're pushing that grapefruit heavily into your leg. All right? That gives you a little clearance at your armpit to actually allow for the full motion of your scapula. If your hand was flat, you wouldn't have that. All right? So keep that grapefruit pressure going on. Make sure your elbow's nice and straight. And then let's start that scapular CAR motion, sliding the scapula forward on just that side. And then slide your scapula up with a nice straight elbow. Your hand will move. And then keep the hand still as you bring that scapula back to open your chest up. And then keep that elbow straight as you slide that grapefruit down your thigh. Good. We're going to keep going. Apologies if this makes you crave grapefruits. There we go. Just going to see if she's going to crack a smile. All right, keep going. Very nice. And just make it your goal to get in touch with all of the muscles that control your scapula. See how many of those muscles you can really feel contract or maybe even cramp a little bit. And then pause wherever you're at and go in reverse. So as your scapula moves back and forward, you're going to try to keep that hand still. And it's only going to move when we go up and down. There we go. Getting a feel for it. Smoothing out the edges. Final 15 seconds. Good. And shake it out. Nice. All right, I'm just going to have you turn so they can see the other side. So real quick before we do the other side, usually the motion that's toughest to feel is retraction when that scapula is coming back. So that's where you're going to really want to focus on keeping your hand heavy and see how much you can move just the scapula without the hand moving. And that way you know you're building an independent motion at that joint. Okay, so heavy grapefruit into your thigh. Brace the rest of your body so nothing's going to move. And then start by sliding that shoulder blade forward into protraction. Keeping the elbow straight, slide the whole arm straight up. And then open your chest and pull that scapula back, trying to keep the hand still before sliding straight down. Good. Keep moving in this direction, 20 more seconds. And remember, we want to use the level of contraction around the scapula that you might use on the wall when you're climbing. All right, so you don't want to just let this be an easy motion, but you really want to carve out right at your end range. Pause wherever you're at and reverse course. Good. Debbie's doing a really nice job here of bracing her abs so that the rib cage isn't moving, but that's another spot that likes to jump in. So make sure your ribs are staying still and you're just moving your scapula around your rib cage. Good stuff. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake it out, okay? So bookmark that scapular CAR because we're going to do that a little later in a few weirder positions. So wanted to give you a little taster there in that setup. All right, so now we're going to move into the first part of the series here. We're going to start kind of at the furthest tip and work on the fingers and wrists a little bit, which can be really problematic. I will say now this class is not sufficient if you have tendonitis going on for your finger joints. If that's the case, you need a little bit more than we can offer in a class, but this will serve as good conditioning for those finger segments. So go ahead and start again in quadruped. And once you're there, just sit back a little bit towards your feet so that you can take a little bit of weight off of your hands. And you're just going to lift your wrists up off the floor and start playing with the stretch that you can find in your hand and in your fingers. So I'll show you a little from the side here where I'm trying to play with that sort of flexion or stretch that I can get in my fingers without setting my hand down. Yeah, the palm of the hand, but also all of those kind of fingery bits. Good, okay? And then once you feel a stretch for that area, don't let anything move, so you're all of a sudden a muscly statue, and just focus on trying to make pressure through each of the pads of your fingers. Once you feel that clear pressure, ramp up the intensity by feeling like you're slowly closing your fingers around a ball, but the floor is in the way, and ramp up this contraction for your finger tissues to about 30% effort and hold it. Good. Last few seconds here, and then relax that effort, okay? And you can move your wrists in a way that feels good. We're going to progress that by starting again on the fingers when you're ready and starting to stretch those fingers out just like we just did. But then we're going to add on to that stretch, laying as much of your palm flat on the ground as possible. So we're really trying to stretch out all of those tissues on your palm all the way to your fingers. Once you get that palm flat, if you're feeling a stretch, that's good enough. If you don't feel a stretch, you're just going to tip your body forward slightly to pull those tissues into stretch across your wrist. Can you feel that? Okay. Now from here, yep, up into the forearm, exactly, yep. So once you find that stretch from the fingers into the palm, start again. Finger pads getting heavy, even the thumb. And then start to feel like you're trying to engage the tissue in your hand, like you're closing around a ball. Good. And then really imagine what it would take to punch your fingers through the floor. It's not going to move, it's not going to happen, but play that script through your head to try to get a little bit more contraction through your forearms. Hold it here, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Okay? So that's just a taster. If that felt very juicy for you, you were finding some real stiffness and tension in there, I would just ask that you repeat that a few times, maybe 4 or 5 sets for your fingers in your hands. All right? For now, we're going to go into controlling the other side of the joint. So we were just training this long side. Now we're going to train the short side. So get into that same position again, kind of rolling out your fingers in your hands. And then pitch your shoulders over your fingers as much as your wrists will allow. That means maybe you stop because you feel a stretch on the forearm. Yeah, good. You maybe stop because you feel a stretch here, or maybe you stop because you feel a little bite or a pinch on that side. Either way, that's going to be your stop sign. Okay? So pitch forward as far as you can. All right, now instead of thinking heavy fingertips, you're going to think light fingertips, like you're trying to lift your fingers off the ground without letting your body move. And then when you're sure you're giving as much effort as possible to lifting those fingers off the floor, start leaning back and bring the fingertips with you. So they come off the ground. Whenever they do, pause there. And you're focused on trying to lift your hands and fingers off the floor while your elbows stay straight and while your body stays still. 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly relax your fingers back down. Let your body rest. We're going to do that just one more time. Okay? How'd that feel?
Intense.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Maybe feeling it now on this side of the forearm as well as the stretching on this side. All right? Okay, so let's do one more. Place those fingers down to find that stretch. And then place your palm down to pull all that tissue onto stretch. And then add stretch as you are able by pitching your body forward. And then hold there and start turning on the contraction that would lift your fingertips off the ground while keeping your elbows straight. The goal would be to cramp or contract all of this stuff on the top of the wrist. Once that's on, start bringing your body back to bring those fingertips with you and hold as soon as your fingers are off the ground. You're thinking of trying to lift those fingers higher and higher and higher. Don't let your elbows bend. Fight for it. You got it. 4, 3, 2, and slowly melt them away. Okay. Shake it out just a little bit. Okay. It's some real for your little muscles in your forearms. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for your wrist going in this direction. And this is not because we do this position very much. It's because I want to make sure that you can fully shorten all of the tissues that you need for gripping. Okay, that's really important. So this time, sort of quadruped, but maybe with your hands closer to your knees, you're going to go palms up. And just like before, start with your fingers and then start laying the top of your hand down until you feel like all of that tissue is under stretch. And then you might be able to bring your shoulders back and really feel a stretch in that forearm. Do you feel a stretch there? Like in here?
Mm-hmm. When I straighten my arms.
Yeah, definitely important to keep the elbows straight. Okay? Now just play with this for a second. Start thinking of curling your fingers. And this may or may not be possible for you, but start, trying to close your fingers around a ball and see how tight you can pull your fingers. Good, and then lay them back out. Good, just try a few reps like that, really paying attention to not letting your elbows bend. If you feel like you must bend your elbows, then you're going to pitch your shoulders forward more so that you can find a position where your elbows can stay straight. Okay, good. Okay, now on this next one, you're going to hold your fingers as curled up as possible. Good. Really try to feel that active effort in your forearms. And then keep that effort happening and pitch forward to bring your knuckles off the ground, trying to cramp that very bottom segment of your wrist or of your palm. Hold it here. Can you cramp your forearms? 3, 2, and 1. Melt those hands open and pitch back. Okay, if you need a break, you can, but let's see if we can do one more rep. Okay, with elbows straight, start closing your fingers around a ball. Find as much tension as you can, feeling it here. And then focus on really holding that angle at your wrist tight as you pitch forward and bring your knuckles off the floor. Good. Hold here 10 seconds. Your goal is to cramp your forearm tissues. Cramp them. Send as much neural drive to those tissues as you possibly can. For 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly melt your hands open and relax. Good. Okay, so that's the extent of wrist training that we are going to do today. If your wrists really bug you, again, there's other stuff to focus on as well in other classes, but this will be a nice primer for climbing and to build the condition there. All right, so now you're going to come back into quadruped, and I'm going to have you, yeah, perfect. Just find a position with your hands where your shoulders, or your hands are shoulder width, all right? And then walk those knees out a little wider as well, so you feel really stable, okay? And then start making your right hand heavier than your left hand. And really feel that clearly, so you feel something change in your midsection brace. And it should feel like your right hand is so heavy that you don't even need your left hand. You could just peel that up off the ground and your body doesn't move. Go ahead and reach that left arm straight out to the side. Okay, once it's out to the side, rotate your bicep backward to reach your thumb almost behind you. This is shoulder external rotation. And keep this feeling going on in your scapula. And then rotate just your arm bone forward into internal rotation as far as you can. And then back, feeling that scapula stay in your back pocket the whole time, and your right hand stay heavy, and rotate forward. Good. 15 more seconds here, focusing on a capsule CAR for your left shoulder as the rest of your body is lit up with contraction. This should feel like a core exercise. Good. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Melt that hand down. Good. Give yourself a little shake out. I'm just going to have you turn over to the other side so they can see your other arm. And we're going to do that other arm. All right? Now, let's say as you're doing this, you feel your body kind of relax its tension. I definitely invite you to go back to both hands, feel that brace again, and then start fresh. All right? So feel that left hand get heavier than the right now. Really pressing, and then reach the right arm out to the side. Start with an external rotation of that arm so that you feel your shoulder blades settle into your back pocket. And then keeping that, start rotating the bicep forward only as far as you can without losing that scapular position. And then back. Good. Go ahead, try a tight squeeze through your fist as well. It might help you get a little bit more contraction out of that arm. And be wary of your arm trying to sweep behind you. Yeah, there you go. Good. Last 10 seconds, team. You got this. Good stuff. 3, 2, and 1. Great. Okay? We're going to do one more set like that, but you have the option to turn up the intensity here. So one option that I'm going to have Debbie do is just extending one leg from quadruped. So this gets us a little bit, little less stable position. And if you are taking this class multiple times and you want to click it up further, you could also do this from a full plank and reach the arm out to the side, working that way. All right? But the most important part is that your torso doesn't move. So choose accordingly. Let's come back into quadruped. And we're going to, again, rotate the left arm. So you're going to straighten out your right leg, opposite. Yeah, good. Once that leg is straight, you have a chance to curl your tailbone under and make that straight leg as heavy into the ground as you can so your abs are ready for a karate chop. And you're going to try to keep that going the whole time. Good. In just a moment, yeah. Okay. So once you feel your abs clearly, you're going to lift that back leg and just make sure you're not lifting that with a change of your spine. Your right hand stays heavy, left arm reaches out to the side. Start by externally rotating, and then here we go. You're doing capsule CAR rotation, 30 seconds. And I really like to think about reaching that straight arm as far as you can. So you're not just twisting, but you're actually like getting longer with each twist, keeping that right arm super heavy. Good. 5 seconds. Don't give up quite yet. You got this. 3, 2, and 1. Settle down. Nice. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. And you can stay in this orientation if you want. Okay, because the leg will be helpful for them to see. So just stay here. Yeah, Quadruped? We're going to figure this out. We got this. Okay, so when she straightens her left leg out, just take a look here for a moment. It's very easy as they lift the leg to just do it from the back. So go ahead, lift your leg up using that back. You see how she loses the shape in the spine. Okay, so bring the foot back down. If instead you can really feel that curl under of the tailbone so that your abs really turn on, then you're not going to let that change as you just hover the leg. Don't worry about how high you get the leg, just worry about your spine not moving. And then reach your working arm out to the side, externally rotate to start, and then keep that scapula still. Here we go, rotating for 20 seconds. Yes, very nice. If you feel like you're losing sight of your abs, you can always set that straight leg down for a moment and really brace again. You could even leave that foot on the ground so that you're sure the quality of your midsection brace is top notch. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Excellent. Okay, go ahead, have a seat or kneeling, whatever feels like a little break for your wrists. We're going to focus now on elbows for a little break. Here's where you're going to want your wooden spoon. All right, now for your elbow rotation work, you're going to grab that wooden spoon and bend your elbow and tuck that elbow right in against your rib cage. You could even monitor with your free arm if you wanted, okay? And then just start that rotation of the spoon, realizing that because your upper arm is locked in, the motion has to come from your elbow joint. So as you feel that rotation, try to feel the tissues that create that rotation as you find a complete stop one way and a complete stop the other way. Good. Now, as you go back and forth, if you're someone who has had elbow pain in the past, you're really going to want to know which direction you need help with. So as your palm goes up, that's supination. As your palm goes down, that's pronation. So if you leave us a note about which one felt crappy, let us know if supination or pronation felt worse, okay? All right, now next time you supinate and go palm up, hold that rotation, really max it out, and then just bring the dowel across your body a little bit. This is going to help you be able to grab onto the far side of the spoon. You're going to grab onto the bottom of the spoon and just lift up a little bit without letting the dowel move so you feel what turns on in your forearm. And then let your other arm win as you resist with your forearm. Keep going until you cannot pull that wooden spoon any further. And you have now pulled those tissues that were contracting into a long position. Hold when you get to end range. And then relax by taking that free arm off and just winding up again. Okay? We're going to try that 2 more times. So really make sure you're maxing out rotation. Grab onto the end. Feel that contraction of trying to lift it. And then keep resisting your hand as that arm wins and pulls the dowel all the way over. Good. Taking your time with this work. This stuff is incredibly effective at tuning up and conditioning the tendons in your elbows. Just take some time. And then relax that contraction. And then one more effort. Good. Really gripping the dowel tightly. Create some real contraction on the end by feeling that pull upward. And then really create an internal fight with yourself as you come all the way over. A little inner struggle. Good. Very nice. All the way over. Good stuff. And once you finish up range, go ahead, shake it out. We're going to go to the other side. There we go. Okay, so just gripping the dowel on the other side, wedging that elbow in. Okay, and then start with some rotations of your elbow joint. And just feeling how far you can rotate in each direction. Trying to feel, is there a certain direction where you do or do not feel contraction? Do you feel like you really have a control of the tissues that pull you into that end range or not? Good. Last couple here, really getting a feel for what your elbows can do. Okay, now next time you're in supination, hold it there. cut that arm across your body a little bit so you have easy access to the far side of the dowel. Start pulling up on that dowel to create some fight, and then let that free arm win as you resist that rotation with your working arm. So we're trying to train all of those tissues in your forearm that are getting pulled long here. Keep working until you find a complete stop. Hold that stop for just a beat, and then relax the effort, and then return the rotation. So that's the one kind of safety thing, is you don't want to like pop off the end of that contraction. You want to let everything chill out. Okay, so find end range, create the contraction, and then start your eccentric by letting that arm pull your working arm into rotation. Good. Really finding that complete stop. Keep working away, and only when you're sure you can't go further, then relax and rotate back. Final rep here, Debbie, you got it. Good. Now, quick note, the shoulder loves to get involved, so keep setting that scapula down in position, feel strong, and really let the motion only happen at your elbow. Create that resistance. Here we go, a little inner fight. Good, oh, keep those fingers gripping. There we go. Great stuff. All right, and relax, okay? And shake that out. Now, if you're really like detail-minded, you might notice that we could do the same thing in the other direction. We're gonna skip that for today, just so you get a little taster for those eccentrics. We could spend more time on those in the future. All right, so now we're going to shift to some more scapular work, and we're gonna start this one again from quadruped. So come back into your quadruped. You're gonna step those knees out a little wider so you feel nice and stable. Now let's say maybe your wrists are bugging you a little bit. The easiest way to make that clear just a little bit is to rotate your fingers outward and walk your hands wider, okay? That means there's a little less range of motion demand on your wrist, all right? And again, like we were doing before, start making your your left hand really heavy, because this is now gonna be your working arm. And then lift your right arm off the ground, and you could place it on your collarbone, or you could place it behind your back. Just need to get it out of the way. And then we're going to play with this scapular CAR from here. The first motion is going to be pushing the floor away to slide that scapula forward. And then keep that feeling going and shrug that scapula up to your ear. And then keep your abs strong as you slide your shoulder blade towards your spine. And then slide that shoulder blade down into your back pocket. Good. Keep going smooth in this direction. Debbie's doing a really nice job of keeping the integrity of the shape of her spine. But you want to try to make sure you're not letting your spine wiggle around, but we're really only moving that scapula. And freeze wherever you are. Reverse course. Good. Sometimes your face tries to create the motion for you. So best as you can, try to only move through that scapular joint. This can be extremely weird feeling if you've never moved like this before. Good. Last 10 seconds. Finding all those contractions you can. And relax. Okay, shake it out. And just turn around so they can see the other side. All right. Now let's say you gave that a shot and you were like, whoa, that's just way too much to focus on. I would invite you to go both arms down and do both scapula at the same time. That might just feel a bit more accessible. And then you could build up to the single arm version. All right, so again, make the working side heavier. Peel that other side off the ground, either place on the collarbone or the lower back. Here we go, 20 seconds in one direction. Nice. Really trying to feel your whole spine move as one unit. It will move, so don't be worried about if you feel some motion, but you're just trying to have it all move as one unit. Good. And freeze wherever you're at. Go ahead, go the other direction. Good stuff. Take care to not let that free, unsupported side dive bomb towards the ground, but you're keeping your chest square to the floor the whole way as you carve out that range for your scapula. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Great. Okay, shake it out now. Now you're going to come up to standing, and if you're at home, the easiest kind of setup here is going to be a door frame. You're just going to hook your fingers on the inside of a door frame and use that. So if you need to pause and kind of move things around, go ahead and do that. We're going to just be here for a minute or two. If you happen to have that right on hand, you can just turn towards the wall, turn towards that door frame, and then you want to hook your hand at a spot that's just a little above your shoulder. Yeah, so a little higher than that, Devs. There, yep. And then straighten your arm out. And then lean your body back and bend your knees just a little bit. So it's starting to get into a hanging position for your arm and your shoulder, but it's not quite holding your full body weight. All right? And then from here, go ahead and hug yourself with your free arm and let that be an invitation to really turn on the brace through your midsection. And we're going to do another scapular CAR here. Sliding your shoulder blade forward, then shrugging up to your ear. Then slide that scapula back and now down into your back pocket. Keep going in this direction and keep a little active pull on the door frame the whole time so that you really can feel the tension as it translates through your shoulder blade and into your back, maybe even down to your pelvis. That would be a great sensation to find. Good. Now, wherever you find yourself, pause, reverse course. If that hand's getting a little tired, try to engage more contraction through the rest of your body. We're going to get a rest here shortly. Really good. If it's feeling easy, see if you can lean back a little harder and create more pull with your hand, and therefore more intensity for this CAR. Last 5 seconds. Good. And relax. Great. Shake it out. Give yourself a break. All right. People sometimes ask, like, what muscles does this train? This trains all of them that attach to your scapula. So it's actually a very efficient way to train these muscles rather than just doing an exercise for one or another muscle. Okay, let's do the other arm. Oh yeah, got to get to the other end of the bar. Try it just a little bit higher up. Yeah, yep. And you can go straight on. Yeah, so the arm should be kind of straight out in front of you. Just to simplify, create that tension and that pull. And then hug yourself with your free arm so you're not going to let your spine change shape. And here we go, 20 seconds, pulling that scapula forward, shrugging it up, pulling it back to your spine to open your chest, and then really trying to feel the connection down your back as you go into your back pocket. Good. You might notice your elbow trying to bend. See if you can tune that down, keeping the elbow active and straight. Good. Whatever play you find here, you want to grab control of it and strength train around it. Wherever you find yourself, pause and reverse course. If you ever get lost, just try to remember those cardinal directions. Forward and back, up to your ear, down to your pocket. That helps you really define the full motion of your scapula. Last 10 seconds. If you have the juice for it, see if you can't pull on that door frame a little harder, as if you were leaning back or hanging from a wall. Good stuff. And relax. Okay, so shake it out. So just a moment to check in on the fact that very often CARs get treated as a warm-up or maybe a conditioning movement between other exercises. But especially for climbers, CARs can and maybe should be a very intense form of training. So imagine doing that same scapular CAR but hanging from one arm from a bar or from a ring. That now is your full body weight, but same job. You're still tracking your shoulder blade through space. So whatever level of intensity your body needs, you want to find that and work right there. This is just a little taster into that level of intensity. Okay, now for some work on the ground before we wrap up. So you're going to lay down on your back here, and we're going to focus on the spine for a moment and then switch to the hips to finish up. So to start here, you're going to bend your knees, feet are going to be flat on the ground, and you can cement your lower back on the floor as well. And we're going to try to work on your upper back segmentation, which can be a real challenge to feel. And again, this is a more intense way of training that upper back. We're going to start by just feeling flexion segmentation. So that is the ability to shorten the front of your body and stretch the upper back. And to help us not confuse that motion with your neck, let's block the neck. So you're going to place your hands flat on your upper sternum, almost like you're going to try to choke yourself, but just enough thickness so you can bite down with your chin. Yep. And feel that, okay, that's my neck. My neck is maxed out. Now any motion you get is going to be south of your neck into your thoracic spine. So take a big breath in, brace your abs, and then blow all of that air out, really actively feeling all those muscles around your midsection turn on. Keep them on and start peeling your head up away from the ground, peeling those shoulders, and seeing how much of your rib cage you can peel up without moving below your rib cage off the floor. Okay, and then start placing each rib back down, segment by segment. Keep going. If you need a neck break, you could set your head down, but see if we can keep that chin tucked and keep moving if possible. Really finding that ability to segment as close to one vertebrae at a time as possible. Back down. Good. Keep that chin tucked and lay as much of your ribs as you can back down. Final rep here. Really feeling the contraction on the front side, but also maybe some stretch in the upper back. And then start laying your spine back down with control. Good. And then finally relax the head down. Okay, so that can be a pretty intense one for the neck. So give yourself a moment here. But that also gives you an idea of how much contraction I want you to use for the next two motions of your spine. So in a moment, you're going to do that same peel up. Once you get all the way peeled up, you're going to rotate your shoulders in each direction, back and forth, staying flexed the whole time. All right? As you do that rotation, I want you to really try to keep your belly button area still so that you're only rotating your collarbone area and therefore moving from your thoracic spine. So bite down, chin on hands, and then start to peel your shoulders up. Find as much as you can. And then whatever the segment that's right off the ground, that's where you're trying to move from. Rotating one way, the other way, breathing around a rock solid, really active midsection. Back and forth, keeping your lower back glued to the floor. Nice, 10 more seconds, breathing. Good. 3, 2, come to center and lay your spine back down. Okay, now let's say you're doing this and it's like, whoa, Will, that's just way too much for my neck to manage. That would be fine to be working on this flexion and extension from quadruped, somewhat like we were working at the beginning for cat-cow. That's a good option for you. All right, for this last one, you're going to place your hands right below your rib cage, kind of on the side. And this gives you a dividing line. You're trying to move above your hands and not let anything below your hands move, okay? So brace tightly by blowing all that air out, and then keeping your head on the ground, start to actively flex the left side of your body in order to open up the right side of your body, and doing your best to not move the area of your spine below your hands, and then bring that spine back to center, and go the other way, trying to lengthen the left side and shorten the right side. And then back. Good. Brace and keep going back and forth, really trying to feel segmentation. So it's not just a movement of your whole spine, it's actually segments of your spine, kind of like slithering your spine into this lateral flexion. And then bring back to center. One more in each direction. Almost trying to move from the top of your spine down through your ribs, and then building back up from the bottom up, and then the top of your spine down to laterally flex to the right. Okay, and relax. So if lateral flexion's a little new for you, that one might feel just like a wiggle. But again, over time, you want to feel like you're moving one segment at a time into that. And if you're having trouble with that, now you know that's something you got to work on. We're going to finish up here with a little movement for your hips. This is a great one. And I was actually just talking with a client this morning about this, that the more that you can like bring yourself closer to the wall when you're climbing, the more efficient you can be. So that depends on your ability to abduct your hips. That is, bring your knees out to the side. So to work on that, this is a great primer movement for pre-climb or to train long-term and improve your hip abduction. Bring your feet together, soles of the feet touching, and let those knees fall out to the side. All right. Now, if this position was really not feeling okay for your hips, I would have you just kind of pause, move to the end of the class when we do some hip capsule CARs. All right. From here, start feeling the active effort required to make your back flat on the floor, so we're not hyperextending the back. And then keep that and start to pull the knees actively out, like you're trying to touch the outside of your knees to the floor. All right. And then keep both of those efforts going and start lifting your pelvis up off the ground. You might feel like you can lift 1 inch or 5 inches, either one's fine. And then hold at the top feeling like you're pulling your knees wider and squeezing your butt harder, and then slowly lower down. Good. We're going to do 4 more holds like that. Each time, make sure that the top position is achieved with a butt squeeze and not by extending your belly button to the ceiling. Okay? Brace your abs, pull your knees out wide, and then start to drive those hips up through a butt squeeze, keeping your abs active, and hold at the top. 5, 4, 3, 2, and melt on down smoothly. Good. And as you get more and more clear on this, keep checking in. Can you pull those knees wider? Can you feel the rotation that we're training here on the hips? All right, and then brace your abs, drive your glutes up to lift your pelvis. Good. Yeah, Debbie's really fighting to keep that tailbone curled under and not let her belly button lead the way. I see you. I see that work. 3, 2, 1. Slowly melt down. Great stuff. Take a breath. 2 more reps, team. Pull those knees wider. What muscles could contract to rotate those thighs? And then drive your hips up. Find your top position and hold it. Max effort. 3, 2, 1. Melt it down. Okay. Now on this last rep, I give you a little taster of how you could begin progressing and loading this if you wanted to train this over time. Make 2 heavy fists and place them on your hip bones, all right? And imagine that somehow magically each fist weighs like 20 pounds. Okay? Find those knees out wide, brace your abs, and then squeeze your butt to lift up your hips and those 20-pound weights. Hold it. Make it harder for yourself by actively pressing down. Oh yeah, we got a little shake and bake going over here. It's all good. 3, 2, 1, and melt it down. Okay? So other than some weird looks that you might get at the climbing gym, this one is a great one to set you up pre-climb, or again, maybe a way to train hip abduction if that's something that you feel is missing. All right, so we're going to finish this up by coming up to standing, grabbing your dowel again that we started with. And rather than doing the full hip CAR, you can, again, hold it in your working arm or your working leg side, hand on the wall to make sure you feel stable. And go ahead and start a hip CAR, just coming up and around through it, through it. And when you start feeling that heel go high behind you, go ahead and pause there and move that dowel to intersect with your thigh bone. Good, okay? Now this is going to be a nice reference point as you keep your pelvis square ahead and then start rotating your thigh to lift your ankle or reach your ankle down and then lift it up. Back and forth here, 30 seconds of a capsule CAR to let your brain kind of save and upload that work we were just doing on your back. So each time you're keeping the angle of your thigh and you're just rotating that hip joint. Trying to push the dowel down for more contraction of your upper body tissue and trying to reach that ankle higher and more forward, both directions. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax it down. Good. Okay, now go ahead and set up on the other side. One little trick is that if you feel that you could bring your ankle forward further than the dowel, you want to make sure you're set up in a way kind of like you're straddling the dowel. I'll show for just a second. Boom, like that, so that you could freely rotate your heel around. All right, last thing here, team. Start up your hip CAR. Bring that thigh out to the side. Start reaching the heel up. And then once you feel like you're in that position, find that placement, heavy dowel, and start rotating your thigh. Good. Keeping your pelvis as square and still as possible and only moving your hip socket. Good. Keeping that reference point thigh on the same spot on the dowel if you can. Last 8 seconds. Good. And relax. All right. Great job. Thank you, Debbie. In case you didn't know, Debbie is my partner in crime and in life. And we appreciate you joining us for this class today. Let us know questions and comments, especially about how this could help upgrade your climbing. Have a good one.